Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. It is great to be back after the holiday break here, getting into the daily markets, tracking Palantir Technologies, finding support at this $19 level zone. We're going to be talking about this, and especially this is going to be important not only because we have the end of the year coming up, we also have the discussion about interest rates, which a lot of people on Wall Street are holding and waiting for this meeting as we see a little bit of this rally and a little bit of quietness in the stock market today. However, we do see an options volatility that is still continuing to be sky high for Palantir. And in terms of these call options, we're going to be looking into this. We even have some media articles that have posted about the options volatility, and also not just in terms of Palantir, in terms of the end of this year, but how is next year going to play out and what are the big banks predicting in terms of the global markets. Now, if you're new to the channel or a returning viewer, hit that like button, subscribe for daily videos, and of course, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just collecting on the data and dispatching it to you. Pop it up on the screen here. What we see is with Palantir is finding support at these 19s. And remember last week we celebrated this 52-week high for Palantir, basically up here at the 2185. Trading volume a little bit lower than what we have seen in the previous trading sessions that were close to about 100 million. We see at about 58 million right now in terms of trading. Palantir basically consolidates on the day, down about 0.63%. Following the global markets here, you can see the global markets basically consolidated on the day, as we do have, like I said, a little bit of a cool off in terms of the markets. Before we get too far, let's talk about the options though. In terms of expirations by the end of this week, we see call volumes here back in the 19.50 cents and at the $20 strike prices up here at 12,000 and 17,000. Specifically looking into these options that the bulls are still targeting Palantir to get a buyback point into the $20 strike price. And we're seeing this boost right here, and even when Palantir has stayed very popular in the options pit with that recent peak that we have seen, and it has stayed on this top 10 basically most option volume all equities right here. And you see Palantir sitting here with the 10-day call volume here at 2.9 million and 10-day put volume here at 1.2 million. So these option traders right now, they are in luck. In talking about that, Palantir is seeing attractively priced premium at the moment in terms of its valuation. We know that Palantir is very high, but yet investors are still willing to pay these high premium prices for Palantir. And talking about that, what we have had with this rally is this high optimism for an end of the US interest rate hikes that has really been a catalyst for this November rally in stocks, and this has been setting up the Dow Jones, as we've seen, for the strongest month that we have seen in terms of the year and this November rally. And talking about that in terms of the VIX, that we have seen is that the fear gauge is closing at its lowest level since January of 2020. And if you guys don't know what the VIX is, this is the volatility index, and what we see is at its lowest levels right now. And what we see is the fear is continuing to dwindle, and with the hopium that we do have behind, like I said, with the interest rates that are continuing. And also what we do have in terms of the actual Black Friday deals is that the Cyber Monday deals, continuing right here, is that these holiday purchases are still continuing to increase, even though we've seen a consumer price spending that has tightened. And Black Friday deals here, the sales are up over 75% year over year to a record of 9.8 billion, while in-store totals have also jumped. So even though we've seen the purse that is continuing to tighten, we're seeing spending that is continuing to increase year over year among these retail sales, which can be great going into December, especially here with the last month going into 2024. We're seeing Palantir that is still being listed as some of the top 5 stocks that you can buy and hold over the next decade, really competing with other stocks such as Nvidia, which has been a leader in the market, Meta, we're talking about Amazon, and even Tesla. So with these top stocks, top blue chip stocks that we're seeing here, Palantir is starting to be included among these lists. And great to see here, and with them really being a leader competitor, considering they have a market cap at 41 billion. If you compare that market cap to the other stocks here on the list, that is just a small percentage as some of these top tier stocks. So basically where Palantir sits right now, is it at a buy on the artificial intelligence outlook? I think there's a lot in terms of the AI growth driver that needs to take effect, and there's a lot of global macroeconomic impact that could have an effect on Palantir. Interest rates are going to be one of them, number one, and also I think how we're going to see see the actual volatility change within the markets going into 2024 and how investors are going to be looking at not just treasury yields, but also looking into the AI growth potential. And looking at Palantir stock right now, what we have seen, it is continuing to diverse its clientele, and we've seen this in the last quarter results, that its customer year-over-year growth has continued to grow, and its actual diversification away from just governmental contracts has also continued to increase. We've seen this with our AIP boot camps, which is great, and especially allowing and using a business tactic to allow possible clients to try this for free has been showing to be successful, as we've seen commercial clients continue to increase. And Palantir's earnings, one of the biggest things that we have seen in terms of the bearish perspective is a decelerating revenue growth. And this has been an issue right here, that they have seen that in 2022 that revenue growth has slowed to 24% from 40% here in 2021 and 47% in 2020. Now, some people do argue that this is just a maturity of the company, that we will see the actual exponential growth of a revenue basically become more consistent, going more to a linear growth rather than you're seeing that exponential growth in more of an immature company. As we know, Palantir continues to outdefy and basically prevents all these bears from continuing to ask questions, as Palantir is continuing to beat their earnings. And in terms of that fourth quarter of GAAP profitability, we've seen this 4 quarters in a row now, which brings inclusion for the S&P 500, which is another big indicator of a company becoming more mature. And as Palantir is setting up and continuing to beat these bears in terms of setting these new 52-week highs, we're seeing a cool down among the stock, which that is incredibly okay. And I could see possibly here even testing here at the 18s. But what we have seen is volatility, like I said, with the VIX that has continued to dwindle. So we could possibly see more consolidation among Palantir as investors are waiting for the FOMC to conclude with their decisions on what they want to do with rate hikes. And there could be a standby in that, and we could be waiting for a lot of results, like I said, on how these retail sales are going into one of the most important months of the year, and that is not just Black Friday, but also the holiday season in general. And with that being said, you do have Palantir that is continuing to attract and be one of the most trendy stocks, which is great, especially like I said, after some of the bad news that some of the bears had pinpointed. And we saw this basically seeing that the NHS deal was not at a high was not at the value that they thought it was going to be compared to when they were originally talking about that NHS deal. That's still a great contract to sign and a great contract to achieve nonetheless. That's a 7-year contract in terms of them tapping into various different industries. So looking at the actual long-term perspective on Palantir, I think we could see these new 52-week highs that continue to be set, and going into 2024, we could see highs that are continuing to grow for Palantir here in the mid-20s. However, vice versa, I think on the short-term perspective, we could see a continuation on Palantir cooling off here. We have to remember that this stock has really exploded, and after this gap was basically established right here, Palantir went from $14 to $21 here in just about 21 days. So a little bit of a cool off could really be a realistic approach with this stock and finding and trying to establish more support here. However, at the 18th, there is some support that was established. So we could see Palantir sitting there, or if this rally continues into the end of the year, we could see this all be ignored here and a reversal being triggered right here at about the 19s. So lots of interesting things coming up. We'll keep you guys updated. Peace out. It's great to be back. I'll catch you guys later and have a great day.